Hi friends, happy Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, October 21st. It is 2:00 p.m. and it's time for my Facebook Live to Go class. Today, and I'm just gonna double check, I have to do this because I wanna make sure that I'm talking to you guys and not to myself. I'm gonna refresh to make sure that I've gone live, and I have gone live, so everything is good. I guess once you've had an issue with going live, you get kind of paranoid and you wonder whether or not it's not going live this time, but we're good. We're all good. So October 21st, I can hardly even believe it. We're already talking about making plans for Thanksgiving. And then of course, once Thanksgiving hits, it's Christmas time. So the good news is this to-go class, I'm doing fall items as well, because fall is here now. It took forever for it to get here. I don't know if it was Indian summer or what it was, but 80 degrees plus in October is just not good. That's not fall. I wanted to wear my hoodies. And so now it's actually cooler temps and the leaves are starting to change color. And I guess I've been projecting this with my cards, but I am going to actually transition over to the holidays starting next week. So anyway, welcome. Say hello if you're joining me live. If you are just watching the replay, say hello as well. I love it when you guys interact with me. But before we get started, of course, I'm going to give you a few announcements. So let me change my screen. Sandra, I have missed you. How are you? Thank you for stopping by. All right, I'm going to switch my screen over and I'm just going to give you a couple of quick announcements. The first one, obviously, we still have the best starter kit offer going on right now. This is great for everybody. Even if you're not interested in building a business, oh my gosh, if you can get $125 worth of product for $35, this is a great deal. This is just a great deal. And they also have another special where you can get 99 for 189, but certainly the 35 for 125 is great. So anyway, I want to mention this. If you've been on the fence, if you've been thinking about it, just know that the offer ends the last day in October. So keep thinking if you need to, but just know that it's going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. Okay, also moving on. Paper Pumpkin, the new Paper Pumpkin registration is here. And so between now and November the 10th, you can register for the November Paper Pumpkin. And we know that it's going to have something to do with Christmas. It's wrapped in cheer. And actually, I'm seeing boxes and tags. So this is a fun Paper Pumpkin to subscribe to. And remember, too, that I partner with 3 other demonstrators, and we offer an alternatives tutorial for the Paper Pumpkin. You get 12 additional alternative projects utilizing these Paper Pumpkins. So if you're a Paper Pumpkin subscriber through me, you'll automatically get that tutorial for free, or you can purchase it in my online store. Alrighty, this is the Advent calendar that I've been sharing with you. It is so fun. I'm working on a tutorial for anybody who purchases the Advent calendar through me. They get the tutorial for free, 12 projects, one for each door in the Advent calendar. I have created all my cards. The tutorial is written. I'm just QCing it. Sandra, I know you're one of them. And I hope to have that out to you guys probably this week sometime. I've just got to get it QC'd. But even though the Advent calendar is Christmas, the products in the Advent calendar are not Christmas. So you're going to have a lot of fun utilizing them throughout the new year. So excited about that. Also, Stampin' Up! Is offering various classes. And this particular class that I wanted to just share with you, it's a free class. They're going to be highlighting the Nutcracker Tags kit. But all you have to do is go out to Stampin' Up! And just sign up, to sign up for this class, and you can watch the free virtual classing cast. Listen, Sandra, you're going to love the items that are in your Advent calendar. But when you get my tutorial, if you don't want to know ahead of time, you're going to have to be really careful not to open it up and look at it. but it'll be there waiting for you. Anyway, sorry, I'm a squirrel. I move around. Back to the class that they're having. So check that out. I put some information in my newsletter as well. And just a quick plug for my newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, please do. All that information is in the newsletter. And if you do subscribe to my newsletter, then I send out a free tutorial at the end of every month just to say thank you for following me. Okay, moving on. I'm going fast because I'm excited to get to the cards and I want to have plenty enough time to get to the cards. The last thing I want to talk about is the Create Happiness Club. Now, this is the bi-monthly club that we have. It's a little stepped up, a little bit more for your avid crafters, but this subscription period ends for November, ends on October the 31st. So I wanted just to share with you really quickly the cards that you're going to be able to create. This particular one, you're going to create 6 different cards. I'm following the Ornamentals Christmas Suite, but these cards are so pretty. So we've got these cards, there's 6 of them, plus a shaker card. How fun is that? And then I've also got 2 ornaments that you guys will be able to create. So 6 cards and 2 ornaments for the November class. And then the next one after that will be January. Like I said, it's every other month. So subscription ends the end of this month. All right, let's talk about what we're going to be making today. We are utilizing the Autumn Trees bundle. And you get a big stamp. I've already got it on my stamp positioner. But you've got lots of different dies that you're going to be utilizing for your trees. And then these sweet deer. So a lot of things you can do with this. I hope you like these cards. I had fun creating them. So the first card we're going to do is for fall again. And I don't know if you can see or not because it's kind of a silhouette. Diana, hi. You're going to be getting it. Yes, you are. So we've got the fall tree. That in the fall colors that we've got with the deer. You can see the silhouette of the deer. And then I've done a tree that is more traditional in the green, again with the deer. I love these sweet deer. And then we've got another one that we are going to create of the tree. Again, it is called Autumn Trees. And I'm going to show you how we did this one as well, featuring the green. All right, so let's go ahead. And we're going to work on this one first because this one's probably going to be the one that takes me the longest to do. But the kit includes very vanilla card base. Then I have an early espresso layer. I have some designer series paper that came from the Autumn Toile DSP. Then I have another piece of vanilla cardstock that we're going to actually create our tree on. And then I went ahead and I cut out our deer just to save us some time. And then I got a scrap piece of vanilla for our sentiment. So I'm going to move this aside and we are going to work on creating our tree. So with the tree, I am going to be utilizing, let me bring these over, 4 of our inks. Cherry Cobbler, Cajun Craze, Crushed Curry, and Pumpkin Pie. And I have my blending brushes. We're going to utilize blending brushes, and I'm just going to create some blends on the cardstock. So I'm going to start with the lightest color first. So that's going to be our Crushed Curry. And I love working on my glass mat. The glass mat is something that you can order through Stampin' Up. It comes with a little tray that you can keep your, I've got mine put away somewhere. A little tray that you can keep your ink pads on. And then it also comes with a chamois that you probably see me use periodically. But what I like about it is that I can do all my creating on my glass mat and then it cleans up so easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start blending color here, and you can go as light or as dark as you want. I want to make sure that my colors are vibrant, so I'm going to start just blending in color, and we can go around in various spots. And I can pick up color from my glass mat, so I don't necessarily have to go into the ink pad every time, but I want to make sure I get plenty of color on here. And then we'll go to our next color. So I think my next color will be pumpkin pie. And there's no method to my madness. I'm just blotching on color, but it's amazing to see how it all comes out. So I'm gonna move this out of the way. I'm gonna bring in my pumpkin pie, and we're gonna do the same thing. I'm not gonna worry about cleaning out my glass mat yet. So let's do a little bit of pumpkin pie here. And I love it how these colors tend to blend together. And I'm going to, when I'm stamping off, I'm trying to get the bulk of the ink, not the bulk, but just the new ink off so that when I go to my paper, I don't end up having a blotch, if you will. So if I do that, then I can come in, and I want it to be fairly dark. So I don't know what this yellow line is. It must be something in the paper. I don't think it's going to show as we create this card, but that is kind of weird that I've got this I don't know, crack in my paper. All right, I'm going to switch over now to Cajun Craze. And with my brushes, I kind of keep them all in the same color family. So I don't necessarily have one brush for every color, but I do have various color families. And so the oranges stay together with the oranges, the berries stay together with the berries. I'm going to pull some of this in here. I've got my tree is going to, the trunk of the tree is going to be down at the bottom. So that's why I'm kind of trying to stay up at the top with these. Plus it gives me a place to hold, right? All right, one more. We're going to bring in the cherry cobbler. I love those trees that have the bright red leaves. I'm kind of taking all my favorite trees and just making them into one. All right, so we're going to get some color here and here. And as I spread it around, it's kind of blending out. Let's get some up here. All right, I think I'm good for my coloring. Now what we're gonna do is clean up my mess. So I can use a baby wipe, or I can, let me get these out of the way so I don't get my hands in. I'll clean them up later, and I just really just rub them over a towel. But I have some water here, so I'm going to just mist my mat here real quick with some water, and then I can clean it right up. So we are ready to move to our next step. Now, I blended ink on this, and the ink is wet, and we are going to do some embossing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my heat tool in, and I'm just going to help dry up the ink a little bit before I emboss, because embossing powder will stick to anything that is wet. That's why I use my embossing buddy to kind of absorb any oils that I might have. So I'm just going to dry this ink really quick, and then I'm still going to use my embossing buddy. But I'm trying to make sure that I get this dry. Okay, and you know, you wouldn't have to do that necessarily if you had time to sit and wait, but I don't have time to sit and wait for it to dry. So now I'm going to bring out my embossing buddy, and I'm going to just use it. And it will also help so that the ink doesn't adhere, or the embossing powder doesn't adhere to the ink. Which I only want the embossing powder to be where I want it to be. All right. So now I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus. You don't have to use the Stamparatus, but or you can use any kind of stamp positioner that you want. It's just such a big stamp, and I want to make sure that I get a good inking, if you will, of this. So I'm going to go ahead and place my tree down. I'm using a pad that kind of holds the paper in place, and then I'm just going to make sure it's up in the corner. This way, if I do have to ink it again, I can. So, pull the Versamark, and the Versamark is right here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ink up this tree. And I think I'm going to have to ink it up once, but I want to make sure it's covered up well. And then we'll go ahead and bring this over. The last week and this week both, more technique type of activity. And I love the blending of the brushes. I feel like it's a fun, especially fall, but Christmas too, you can do blending. So I'm going to push this off to the side. Over here, I'm going to bring this in, and now we are going to emboss, and I'm going to use gold embossing powder. Now, last week I showed how you embossed first and then you blended over the embossing. This week I'm blending first and then but I was doing kind of a resist. I wanted my ink to be resisted, and this way I can do it right over the top. So I can see that my embossing powder is really wanting to stick to this, which tells me that my ink was not necessarily completely dry. It's okay. We're going to be fine. I'm just going to have to flick it off a little bit, and it's starting to come off. Okay. And if you wanted to, I see I've got a little brush here. I can actually come in and I can brush some of this away. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to be die cutting this away anyway, so it's not really, it's almost for naught because I'm going to be die cutting this. But anyway, now I've got my embossing powder on here. When I was putting ink over the embossing powder, you have to polish the ink away. This way, the embossing powder is going to be right on top, and I won't necessarily have to polish the ink away. All right, so let's go ahead and get this heated. And as soon as I see it start to melt, I'm going to pull away. Keep my gun moving. I don't want to stay in one spot too long. Now what I want to do is I just want to look to make sure that I've got everything melted, and I do. Isn't that pretty? Even before I die cut it, it's pretty. All right, now we're going to bring the stamp set back in. And let's see, I have it here somewhere. It's kind of funny how I can lose things so easily. Now, this set comes with 2 dies for your tree, and we're going to be utilizing both of them at some point in time in these cards. But right now, what I really want to do is I just want to cut out the outline of the tree. So let me grab some mint tape, and we're going to go ahead and get this lined up. So pretty. And we're going to cut it, and then I'm going to do a little bit more work on it. Let's bring this in. I had to bring in my big cut and emboss because everything we're doing today requires the big one. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring this in and see if I can get this cranked through. All right, move this out of the way. Every time I do this, it comes out different. Every tree. Isn't that pretty? This one has a little bit more, I probably need more red on the outer edges, but I don't know, it's one of those orange looking kind of trees with a little bit of red in it. So now what I want to do before I actually start building the card is I do want to add a bit of color to the trunk. So I'm looking for my Pecan Pie ink. And I could have done this before I die cut as well, but That's okay. I'm going to, and this is another technique that we're going to be utilizing on another one of the cards today. But I want to add some color to the trunk. I don't want my trunk to be orange. So I've got a blending pen. There's 3 come in a package. I use these all the time. But what I can do is I can go in and I can add some color and darken up that orange so it looks more like a tree trunk. And this is a fun little tool to use because you can use your inks and yet direct your inks specifically where you want the color to go. So I can come down through here. If I want to, I can take it down to where it was white down, or not white, but ivory down here. So I'll just add a little bit of color down here just so that we don't have the ivory. And then if I wanted to, let me look at this and see. I could go into, I can see where the branches are. I'm not going to do all the branches on this particular one, but I could actually go into and highlight the branches a little bit more. More specifically, what I really wanted to do is I just wanted to make that tree a little bit darker so that it stood out from the leaves. All right, so let's close this up. And now we can start, well, let's do one more thing. I say now we can start. Let's do one more thing. I've got embossing powder on my mat, glass mat. Let's go ahead and do our sentiment. So I had a piece of scrap and I'm going to utilize, you can see there's no sentiments in this set. So it's really the trees and the deer. So I decided to use, I wanted to just say, so grateful. I found a sentiment that says, so grateful to have a friend like you, which I am grateful for you guys. But I just want to say so grateful right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my so grateful stamp. I'm going to put it on a block. And then I'm going to bring in some tape. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. So I'm going to bring in some tape and I'm going to tape off what I don't want to stamp. So I'm going to put tape over that part of the stamp. And I think I need a bigger piece over here. I'm going to put some tape over this part of the stamp. So now all I have inked up or available is the so grateful. So I'm going to prepare to do some stamping. These are photopolymer stamps, so I really I want to use my pad to kind of give me some cushion. I'm going to bring my scrap in, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink this up and I'm just going to stamp in just a little corner of this, and then I can trim around it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do it in early espresso. So let me get this inked up, and I can pretty much make sure that I don't get into the ink too far, but before I stamp, I have to make sure that I pull this tape off, because if I don't, you can see what I would be stamping. All right, so let me put this off to the side, move this out of the way for just a second, and then I'm going to stamp. So grateful. There we go. We just have so grateful. Now what I'll do is I'm going to clean my stamp off real quick. And we will trim around that. And then we can start building our card. So I'll bring my other pieces back in. And let me see, got my snips here. So let me go this way first. And then I'm just going to go this way. There we go. I have my sentiment ready to go. Okay, now let's start to build. So I guess I didn't score this, but we'll go ahead and go with it. Get my bone folder. I think I have ink on my hand. All right, we are going to add the designer series paper to the early espresso, and then we will add the entire layer to the card base. So let me get some glue out here. nice part about the glue is if I don't get it straight the first time, I can just scooch it around. All right, we'll get this down. Get this centered up where we want it. Again, I'm going to move it around. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll take our tree. Isn't that pretty? It just pops, right? All right, I'm going to take the tree and we're going to put dimensionals behind the tree. So a new sheet of dimensionals. Do I have my tweezers? I have to have my tweezers. I thought I put them down here. Yep, they're here. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Put one down here. I want to make sure I get plenty of support on my tree. So we'll go to the outer edge, probably more than I need, but you know me in dimensionals. It makes me happy. All right, so let's go ahead and get the backs off. I take your pick, helps me just pop them off. And for the most part, keeps them all contained. So I can just take them and put them in the bin. And then we're going to pop this over and I'm going to place my tree right about here. Sounds good. All right, so we've got that. Now what I can do is I can actually take my sentiment and I'm going to use mini dimensionals for my sentiment. And then we're going to get to work on our deer. So let me put a couple of dimensionals here for our sentiment. We'll pop it up as well. Okay. So grateful up here. I'm going to use my tweezers to help place it. Okay. Happy with that. Now look at these sweet deer. Sweet, sweet deer. Okay, I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but we also have black dimensionals. And I like using the black dimensionals on projects where I have dark paper because the white is so stark that it will show. And if you turn the card sideways. And so I want to make sure that I have my black dimensionals here. And we have, when you get the black dimensionals, it comes in a package of both the big and the mini. Whereas with the white, you get a package of big and you get a package of the mini. But what I'm gonna do now is I only need to put dimensionals on the ends because my deer, my tree is popped up. So I'm gonna go ahead, if I wanted to, and I'll go ahead and get it done, I'm gonna put just a little bit of glue right in the middle. Let's go ahead and take these off. And then I'm gonna line this up right at the bottom of my card. I think it cut it edge to edge. I did. So let me come over just a tad. So they're right in front of the tree. But how pretty is that? I know you can't see because it's dark, but in real life, in person, you can see it, and it's so pretty. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add some pressed flower motif embellishments. So I think I'm gonna put one here, and we'll put one here. And then I'm gonna add another little one over on this side, right here. Move this out of the way. So the card is the star, and card number 1 is done. And look at the gold. Can you see the gold in the tree? It's just such a pretty, pretty card, and it's fall. Fun. All right, let's move this out of the way, and we are gonna move on to card number 2. And let's see, card number 2. We're gonna be doing some coloring. We're gonna be doing some embossing. Let me bring that kit in so I can show you what we're doing. So we're gonna start with a pecan pie card base. Then I have a basic black layer that we're going to utilize. I've got a very vanilla layer that we're going to utilize. I have a second very vanilla layer that, what are we going to do with the second one? I don't think we need it. Maybe not. Okay. It's there just in case. And then I've got my deer. Okay. And let me see. I do have, I have a sentiment that we're going to use. Let's talk about the sentiment for just a second before we actually start doing the tree. So I have a little container here. We have a stamp set called More Messages. And More Messages is like one big stamp that has a lot of different sentiments on it. So you can stamp all these sentiments, and then you've got a die that will cut out all those sentiments. So you've got a nice variety of sentiments, and it's so nice and handy to have on hand when you're creating cards and you want to utilize these sentiments. What I've done is I've taken this die and I have just cut out just the shapes. So I can go in here and I can pull this out and I can pick any shape that I want, and I can stamp whatever sentiment it is that I want. So I'm going to go ahead, and that's where this shape came from. But it's fun to have this because I don't have to worry about it. I just pull out one of the shapes and then I can stamp my sentiment. I just have to make sure that my sentiment fits, right? So, thankful for you is what I want to stamp, and I'm looking for, where is thankful for you? Did I pull that one over? Maybe not. So, what I'm going to do, I'm not sure where thankful for you came from, but I didn't bring over the stamp set. Nope, it's not there either. So we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We are going to do thankful, just thankful. So I'm going to pull out the stamp again that says thankful, and we're going to do the same thing we did last time, only this time I want to emboss it. So we're going to do thankful is right here. So let me pull my tape out. And honestly, because it's on the end, I probably could just ink it up and just not do the for part of it, but I'm going to be safe and not sorry. So I've got that covered up. We're going to bring in my Versamark. I'm going to dip it into the Versamark. Actually, let's do the embossing buddy first, just in case. But I want to get this done so that we can play with the tree. All right, so moving that out of the way. Got my gold emboss here. Make sure I got everything ready to go. Let's go ahead and, where's my little mat? Here we go. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and ink up thankful. Before I stamp, I'm going to take that tape off. And then I'm going to center thankful right in the middle. All right. So I've got thankful. Clean that off in a minute. I'm going to take my gold embossing powder. I use a lot of gold embossing powder in the fall and, during the holiday. Hopefully I didn't mess that up. There we go. Perfect. And I'm actually, let me close this up. Oh, hold on. Let me see if I messed that up. No, I did not. I keep flipping it over, probably because it's so little. All right, you guys can't see. I'm going to open this up. Okay, I'm looking for my heat tool, and I'm going to use my tweezers just to kind of hang on to this for me. It's all heat embossed, shiny gold, so we'll set this off to the side. All right, let's talk about the tree. I am actually going to use my Stamparatus again for the tree. And this time we are going to ink it up with, let me grab it. We are going to ink it up with some StazOn ink. And the reason I want to use StazOn is because I am going to be doing some coloring with the ink. And if I use the regular ink on this, it will, the ink will bleed. And I don't want the ink to bleed. So I'm going to take off my Versamark. The Versamark didn't hurt it because it's a clear ink, but I'm going to take off the Versamark. And I didn't pay attention to, let's see, get this on here again. But StazOn ink actually is exactly that. It stays on, and so you can actually use the StazOn ink on plastic, you know, anything shiny. I am not going to be, sorry, thinking out loud, guys. I'm not going to be die cutting this, so I want to make sure that my tree is centered appropriately. So that looks good to me. I like that. Okay, so now I know where my tree is going to go. I'm going to use my StazOn, and then when I'm coloring, I won't have to worry about my ink bleeding. The one thing about StazOn, though, is it has a special cleaner to it. So I'll show you that here in just a second, because you have to basically clean your stamp immediately. The other reason why I like doing the stamp positioner is if I don't get a good stamp the first time, it stays on, and that's not so bad. I think I want a little bit more in the middle, but that actually turned out really good. So let me just try to get some right here in the middle to make it just a little bit darker. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and close this up. And then I have a special StazOn all-purpose cleaner. So when you're using it, my sponge has started to deteriorate because I use it a lot. But just get it saturated. It will melt the ink. And then I can just use a paper towel or a cloth to clean my stamp off. We also have a black StazOn that you can use. I'm using the brown for today. All right, let's see. We'll come back to this again in a minute. I'm gonna grab this and let's start to color. Now, what we're gonna do with this one is I'm gonna pull out my Old Olive ink, and I'm gonna bring in my blender pen again. And we are going to actually color in this like we were coloring with markers. I suppose I could use markers, but I'm gonna use my blender pen and get this colored in. So basically I'm going to just color like I normally would. I need to put on some soft music or something so you guys can enjoy the music while I color. But I've tried doing this with watercolors too, and I just like the look better of the blender pen. I can do dark, I can do light, blend it out. And I'm okay with the light and the dark. It kind of, that's the way a tree looks anyway, right? So get this all colored in. It's gonna take me just a few minutes, guys. Any questions while you guys are waiting? The other thing that I wanted to point out, if you can see me coloring here, is that the ink is not bleeding, which is my whole entire goal. I don't want the ink to bleed. I'm using my Old Olive. Is the exact same ink that I would be using if I was using the pecan pie. That's why I needed to use the StazOn so that it all stayed one color. So I'm gonna go rather quickly. You guys can, when you're coloring, you can just slow down and enjoy yourselves. The pen itself, the blender pen, the brush is not huge, which actually, that's a good thing too, because it then allows you to be a little bit more detailed. But it does take a little bit of time. So let me continue to do this. I was, this last week, Wednesday through Friday of last week, I took a trip with my sister-in-law into Arkansas. They have some big craft fairs in Arkansas. One's War Eagle, and then there's a couple others. I can't think of their names right now. But I mean, huge, like 300, 400 booths. It was amazing. And of course, lots of talented crafters. But I think what surprised me even more was the food vendors. And what I mean by that is creative people with respect to food. Lots of jellies and jams, chocolate, lots of chocolate, pretzels, flavored pretzels. You guys have probably all seen the nut trucks where they take the almonds and the pecans and they, toss them and a cinnamon, sugar. It just, there was lots and lots of stuff, not to mention all the amazing crafts that were there. So we had a lot of fun. Wednesday was a driving day, and then we got to Arkansas on Wednesday, and then we did craft fairs on Thursday and Friday. We headed home on Friday. I got home to my mom's because my mom lives where my sister-in-law lives, which is still 2 hours from my house. So I stayed the night at my mom's, and then I drove back Saturday morning. But I had such a fun time, and it was crazy. It's like the first day that we were there, it was so hot. This Indian summer thing's getting a little old. But on Friday, it really cooled down. It was pleasant. It wasn't cold, but it certainly was pleasant. And then on Saturday, I was home by then, but boy, they had a lot of rain hit there. So there was a big storm coming. So some of the vendors were in buildings, but there were some vendors that were outside in tents, and I really feel for them. So what I'm going to do now, I've got kind of like some streaks going on here. It doesn't look bad, but I'm going to just add a little bit more color before I go to the branches, because we're going to do the branches. So I'm just going to kind of go where Stampin' Up stamp is. They've got some color here, where I'm coloring over where it was stamped, and that just kind of adds the highlights. So that's going to be the highlight that I'm going to be adding for the tree. You guys can do this however you want to. I thought about using my Stampin' blends, but if I'm being honest, I felt like the color would be too dark. And I did do some testing with the watercolor and just did a watercolor on this, and it just was too washed out for me. So I ended up going with the blender pen. All right, so I'm going to switch over to my pecan pie to get my trunk. And with your blender pen, all you have to do is swish it on a paper towel and you are good. And now I'm looking for my pecan pie ink. And we'll just get the branches really quick and then we'll be done with the coloring so that we can move into the next step. So again, just the nice part about the blender pen is that it's got a nice little point to it. So I can go into these branches and add a little bit of color there. And I already stamped it in brown, so that helped as well. But this will just kind of fill it out a little bit more. So get my branches in here. And then we'll get our trunk, and then we'll be ready to move on. But I had so much fun this weekend. I really felt like I was with fairs and the cooler weather that finally found its way in. I felt like fall is finally here. Fall is my favorite season. You guys have heard me say that before. And I just didn't want to miss any of it. I didn't want it to go straight from fall to winter. When I lived in Massachusetts, I felt like, aside from the changing of the colors of the leaves, in Massachusetts, fall didn't last very long. And spring, don't blink for spring, because it goes from like being spring for 2 days and then you're in the heat of the summer. but it sure takes a long time for the leaves to come back to those trees. I felt like we had bare trees for 6 months. That's in Massachusetts. I really enjoy Kansas because I feel like in Kansas we have truly a fair amount of each season. Okay, guys, my tree is done. How fun was that? All right, let's clean this off. The next step for this tree is we are going to actually emboss. So I have the beautiful pattern embossing folder. It's just going to add some pattern to this. I love taking, especially something that's got a lot of plain background to it, and embossing it. I'm going to bring this back in real quick. I could have done it off camera. But it embosses the tree as well. This is the 3D embossing folder, so I just need the top two, the bottom plate and the top gray plate. So we'll crank this through. Thank you, Sandra. All right, let's move this over and pull this out. I just love the texture that embossing adds. So I'm going to show you guys. Can you see the texture in that? So pretty. I love that. All right, let's move this stuff out of the way. Where's my cap? Put my cap on, and let's start to build this card. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and fold this over. For it. And then I'm going to add this layer to my black just to kind of make it stand out. So we'll get our glue on here. I'm using just a teeny tiny little sliver of the black pinking through. Get this centered up. Okay. And then we will add this layer to our pecan pie layer. Make sure it's opening correctly. I've been known to put my layers on upside down. All right, get this centered up. Moving it around a little bit. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and we are going to add our deer again, and I'm going to put the deer on dimensionals again like I did before. So let's turn these guys over and we'll put a couple. I didn't pop my tree up, so I'm going to need to put my dimensionals all the way across so that the center of the deer have support as well. Probably a few too many, but that's okay. I'm actually going to put one on the back of this deer, and let me see, on the hiney of that deer. And then when I go to put this down, it'll have support. Now, one of the things that I need to do, this is, when I die cut it, it was a little long, so I am going to actually trim it off here. And we'll turn it this way. I want it to go edge to edge. And let's see, we'll trim it off here. That should get us close. I feel, actually I'm on top of a dimensional, I can tell. I just cut a dimensional in half. That's okay. All right, let's get these guys on. Here, here, and see, when you use the black dimensionals, you can't see them because they're black. So we've got that, and then the last thing I want to do is add my, well, one of the last things that I want to do is add my sentiment. And let me see, my sentiment I put down here last time. Where do I want my sentiment to go? Move it around. I'm going to put it on this side, and I think I'm just going to make it flat. So we'll go ahead and do that. I've got little backings sticking to me. We'll tuck it in right here. And so sweet. Thankful. When I'm out on walks and I see deer, that's how I feel. Thankful. It's just, they're just beautiful. I love nature. Love, love, love nature. All right, let's go ahead and put a few little embellishments on. I'm using the iridescent foil gems. They're very sparkly, which is pretty. So we'll put it here. And then I'm going to put another one. Let's see if I can get it on my take your pick. Put another one maybe right here. Okay, moving this out of the way. And this out of the way. And we have card number 2 done. How pretty is that? With all that embossing and everything. All right. Moving on to card number 3. Let's see. This is card number 3. And we have Mossy Meadow that we're going to be utilizing. I have a layer of basic white. I have a layer of Designer Series paper that matches the Mossy Meadow. And this is from the Painterly Pears Designer Series paper. I looked around because I wanted to find one that matched my Mossy Meadow. So we've got this. Thank you, Sandra. When I cut this tree, and you'll see, I'm going to need a background. So I've got my background already cut. It's hard to see now, but it's okay. And then I've got my leaves cut. So I've already got some of the die cutting done, but let's go ahead and stamp this tree so I can show you how we're going to start to build this card. And then okay, one more thing is in here. Yes. I have a banner that I've cut that we'll stamp on. And that banner came from, I believe, the Traditional Labels stamp set. Oh, this isn't the same banner. Well, we're going to be utilizing Grateful for You. What did I use for these? Thought I had everything together. You guys can imagine I am constantly moving things around. So we'll figure something out to go on this banner. I think it came from, actually, I know where it came from. I think I know where it came from. It came from, believe it or not, it came from Fright Night. It's the banner from Fright Night. So, if you ask me, do I use one stamp set for the cards that I'm making? No. I use a combination thereof of stamp sets. Now I just need to figure out where the Grateful for You came from, but we'll figure something out. All right, let's get back to my tree. Move this stuff out of the way. And this time I'm going to stamp the tree in Early Espresso. So let me go ahead, and I am going to die cut it, so my tree doesn't necessarily have to be centered, although it would help if it was. So let me move this over a little bit. Okay. Early Espresso is somewhere here. Here it is. Here we go. So let's go ahead and get this stamped. And again, using the stamp positioner, if I feel like I want to get it a little bit darker, I can actually re-stamp it. And the stamp positioner allows me to do that because it keeps everything in the same place. That actually looks pretty darn good. But let's see what it looks like if I give it one more coat. This is such a pretty tree. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Okay, let's clean this off real quick. I just take my chamois out and it helps me get everything cleaned up. Okay, let's put that away, and I'm going to put the ink away. Now we are going to die cut. So let me pull this off. This over here. And remember that second piece that I was showing you? We're going to utilize it as well. So we've got this piece, and then what did I do with the main tree when I die cut with it? Oh my goodness. See, if I don't put things away where they're supposed to go, then I can't find them. And you guys know it was here because I just used it. Did you guys see where I put it? Did you see where it went? Is it here? No. No, it's not here. Oh my gosh. Oh, here it is, guys. Oh, crazy, crazy. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to line this up. And let me see. I don't know where my... Here's some of this tape. I'm going to go ahead and line this up to start. So we'll get our tree ready to die cut. So I'm going to go ahead and put that here and this here. And then we're going to take this, and it's going to cut out detail. So I'm going to lay it down inside of my tree as well. Take a couple more pieces, and I want to just kind of center it in the middle, if you will, so that it's even on all the edges. And I'll just go ahead and put a little bit of tape here just to hold everything into place. Does Stampin' Up! Sell brown stays on? Yes, they do sell brown stays on and black stays on. Okay, I'm cutting, so I've got to get all my plates ready to go again. So I've got this, and we're going to do this. All right, let's crank this through. That out of the way. And let's go ahead and take this apart so you guys can see what it looks like. Save my tape. I reuse it, although I think I probably cut through some of it. Here we go. Get this one. Whoops. Pop this out. Being held in by this tape. All right, got this one off. Now we're going to pull this one off. And look how it cut that tree. Isn't that pretty? I don't know where that piece came from. What is this? Left over from something else, I'm sure. Anyway, look at how pretty that is. Pretty, pretty tree. All right, let's move this off to the side. Actually, I'm going to put these in here so I don't lose them again. Okay. Now, let's start to build this part. First things first, remember, see, because of the fact that this is cut out, you can see it cut out. If I put it on top of my green tree, you can see where it was cut out. I really did not want the background of the designer series paper showing through. So what I decided to do is cut out just the silhouette of the tree. And now what I can do is I can glue these two together, and we'll get that done. And then I can continue to build my tree. But at least now I've got some background, and that background typically would be green anyway, right? Because I'm using green leaves on this. So let's go ahead and get this lined up. There we go. Okay, so our tree's almost ready. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these leaves. So it's one die, and it's just going to add some dimension and texture to the tree as well with the leaves. So you've got leaves, or the green peeking through the background, and then you also have the leaves, and it doesn't fully cover. If I wanted to, I could potentially, sorry, I'm looking for my silicone mat, which was here, but I don't see it now. How do I misplace things so easily? It's like this space, honestly guys, this space is not that big. that I end up misplacing these things. But anyway, I'm going to turn this over, and I don't want, you can see that it's very detailed, and there's like little holes and stuff in it. So basically what I'm going to do is to adhere this, I'm just going to do like little dollops of, or should I say dots? A dollop probably would be too much, but I'm going to do little dots of glue on the back of this, and that will help then to adhere these leaves to the tree. So we'll do that quickly. I love my precision bottle. I still use the Stampin' Up! Offered glue, the Tombow multi-purpose glue, but I do transfer it over into a precision tip bottle because I need that, those little, to get into fine, you know, places and stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna lay this here, and I'm gonna take a block, and I'm just going to use my block to kind of hold it in place for just a second. So while that is drying, I'm going to bring back in my card base. And I still have the problem of what stamp I used. We've got this layer, so we're going to start to build our layers. You can see the pears on the back. But I loved this paper. It went perfect for this card. So now what I can do is put this down. And I feel like, hold on just a second. I'm gonna kind of scooch this around a little bit. I was gonna say maybe I need to turn the paper up, but I think we're gonna be fine. Okay, and then I'm gonna put this layer down on my card base. I do have a little bit more down at the bottom, so I'm just gonna, didn't quite get it centered quite the way I would, but this is a handmade card, so I'm leaving clues, which is great. Okay. So we've got this. The next step is to put the tree on, but I still have to stamp a sentiment on here. And I had stamped Grateful for You before, but I can't find my Grateful for You. So I am going to stamp Greetings. I have a stamp that says Season Greetings. Well, is it going to fit? Let's see. This is part of the traditional labels. And I've been using this one a lot. Oh, I think that's going to work for the most part. It doesn't kind of, give me just a second. Trick or Treat doesn't work. Happy Halloween doesn't work. All these stamps. Let's just do it. I think let's just do it. All right, I'm gonna grab a block. And I'm not going to emboss this one. I embossed the last one, but I'm going to actually just stamp this in the Mossy Meadow. So I want my season greetings, or my season, because I'm not going to do season greetings. I'm just going to do greetings. I'm going to wipe that off, or tape it off, I should say. And I'm going to bring this back in, and we're going to go ahead and get this inked up. I am on the fly right now. Okay, make sure I get that inked up well. And then, of course, I've got to take this tape off because I don't want that mess. So we'll put that there. And then I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to attempt, let me try something. Does that make a difference? Not really. All right, let's do this. Hi, Jan. So glad you were able to join us. There we go. That looks okay. That works for me. All right, so let me clean this stamp off. And we'll finish up. Close my ink up. Move this out of the way. And let's see. We're going to put dimensionals on our tree. So I'm looking for my big dimensionals. I'm gonna make sure my tree gets plenty of support. And then we'll do one here in the middle. Okay. Get the backings off. I don't know if you guys have the same problem I do, but I find the backings to my dimensionals everywhere. Somehow they end up upstairs. I found them on my dog's nose before. It's just crazy where these backings show up. All right, let's see. I'm gonna straddle my tree trunk. There we go. Okay, let's just take that off. I could put a little bit of glue in the middle, but I don't think I'm gonna need to do that. So if I wanted a little bit of extra adhesive, I could probably do that, but it's not necessary. So I'm gonna put this right about here, I think. Greetings. And then I am going to pull out these dimensionals, these embellishments. It's called Flower Accents. And let's go ahead and give this card a little bit of bling. So here, and where do I want that to go? Here. All right, moving this out of the way. And we now have our third card. Isn't that pretty? Greetings. All right, so let me bring them all back in. So this was card number 3. Then we had card number 2. Let's see if I can keep these in the window. And then look at our fall card, card number 1. So pretty. All done with the autumn trees stamp set. Now, this is a to-go class. I don't know that I mentioned that at the top of the hour, but it is a to-go class. I do. Sandra, thank you. I loved how it fit too. And that was just winging it. So it's fun to just kind of see what works. Anyway, this is a to-go class, and if you like the cards, you can place an order on my online store, and you will actually get the kit for the cards for free. Now, I don't do any stamping, so of course, if you're going to create cards that look exactly like this, you're going to need to have the autumn trees. But maybe you've got something that's similar to it. If anything, I hope that you enjoyed the techniques that we did on these cards. So with the ink blending and the embossing, it makes it fun. I'm going to come back and see you guys. Jan, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed them as well. And next week, we're going to actually start delving into the holidays and doing some fun stuff with that. So thank you so much for joining me. Please do like and share and subscribe. This gets uploaded to YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube, please do so. It really helps my channel when we get the likes and the shares. Diana, thank you so much. Winter version of the card. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Anyway, thank you again, everyone, and I will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.